The bells of St. Harwin tolled midnight, their bronze throats shuddering through the fog-drowned valley. Every peal rolled over the sleeping village, bounced off the black pines, and broke against the crumbling ribs of Blackmore Castle. Somewhere beneath that ancient ruin, something ran. Moonlight burned through tatters of cloud, white fire spilling over the forest. A shape leapt between the trees, tall, lithe, and half-cloaked in silver fur that caught the light like wet silk. Her limbs were human in proportion, but ended in claws that gouged bark as easily as parchment. Where flesh met fur, pale skin gleamed like candle wax, and shreds of a woman's dress clung to her frame as if refusing to surrender to the beast. She moved with the elegance of a dancer and the desperation of a hunted soul. Behind her came the hounds. Their baying rose in savage harmony, joined by the clatter of armored boots. Through the ravine shouted a knight whose torch painted the mist in strokes of fire. The witch wolf cannot cross the river, trap her there. She heard them and hissed between sharp, half-human teeth. The word witch wolf echoed inside her skull like a curse she already knew by heart. Breath steamed from her lips. The scent of iron, blood, hung heavy on the wind. She looked down at her hands, at the claws that moments ago had defended her against one of the hunters. A smear of crimson told her she had not missed. The curse had grown stronger tonight. Usually, at moonrise, the change was slow, the pain almost bearable. But the blood moon, rare and swollen, had torn her transformation open like a wound. Her mind still clung to fragments of the woman she was by day. The feel of lace against her skin, the faint perfume of lavender, the soft voice she used when she spoke to travelers who never guessed her secret. Now that voice was gone. In its place came a guttural growl that belonged to something older than language. She broke through the trees and reached the cliff's edge where the river raged below. The full moon hovered above the torrent, cold and pitiless. Across the chasm stood the ruins of an old chapel, its cross snapped, its door half-eaten by moss. It was there, centuries ago, that the curse had been born. Lyria. The shout came from behind her. The sound of her name froze her in place. Only one among the hunters knew it, the captain of the order, Sir Edrin Vale. Once, long before the curse, he had been her guardian, and something more. She turned. Through the fog, his torchlight framed him in gold. His face was older, carved by duty and sleepless years, but his eyes were the same, gray as storm clouds over the sea. He held his sword lowered, not yet striking. "Lyria," he said again, quieter now. "End this, before they see what I've seen." The hounds circled but hesitated. Perhaps they sensed confusion between predator and prey. Lyria's chest heaved. Her voice came out broken, part snarl, part plea. "You think I chose this?" She took a step toward him, the hem of her tattered gown brushing dead leaves. "You think I wish to be half of what I am?" Edrin's grip tightened on the sword. "The villagers found 3 bodies. Tell me it wasn't you." Her answer was silence. The wind shifted, bringing the scent of smoke from the burning torches, mixed with something sweeter, honeysuckle, from the fields where she once walked barefoot in daylight. For a heartbeat, she saw herself reflected in his eyes, not monster nor saint, but something suspended between. Then a young knight behind him yelled, "There she is!" The witch, and loosed an arrow. It grazed Lyria's shoulder. Silver tip seared her flesh like holy fire. She screamed, not from pain but from betrayal renewed, and leapt into the river. The current swallowed her whole. Torches flared along the bank, but none dared follow. Idrin knelt at the edge, the chill mist wetting his armor. "By dawn she'll be human again," he whispered. "Find her before the sun does." When consciousness returned, Lyria lay among reeds downstream. The moon was lower now, half hidden behind drifting clouds. Her wounds steamed faintly. The silver burn was already fading. She touched the place where the arrow had struck, skin smooth again, fur retreating. The curse was waning for the night, but not yet gone. A shadow moved nearby, a hooded figure, small, carrying a lantern whose flame burned blue. "You should not be alive," the stranger said. The voice was that of an old woman, brittle as dry twigs. "But perhaps the curse still favors you." "Who are you?" Lyria rasped. The lantern lifted, revealing eyes milky with age. "One who remembers what your mother did," the crone answered, "and why the moon will never forgive her bloodline." Lightning flashed far off, illuminating both faces, the wolf's and the woman's, overlapping like reflections on broken glass. "Come," the crone said, "before the dawn finds you." Lyria hesitated only a moment. Then she rose, dripping and shivering, the tatters of her dress clinging to her furred skin. Somewhere behind them, the hunter's horns began to blow again. The night of the hunt was not yet over. The crone's lantern flickered against the forest's damp breath as she led Lyria through the undergrowth. The path wound downward into a hollow where the mist thickened, heavy with the scent of moss and iron. Every step sank into the earth like walking through a grave's memory. Lyria's body trembled between two shapes, for still shimmered faintly along her arms, but her face had softened back toward humanity. Her torn gown hung loosely, a ghost of her former grace. "Where are you taking me?" she asked, voice rough as if scraped by moonlight itself. "To the place your curse began," the old woman said. "And perhaps, if your heart still remembers the truth, where it may one day end." They reached a clearing where a ruined cottage crouched beneath the trees. Its roof had fallen in long ago, but inside, the stones still smelled of herbs and candle smoke. Lyria froze on the threshold. The shape of the doorway, the slope of the hearth, it all whispered of a childhood she'd buried beneath centuries of guilt. "I know this house," she murmured. "This was my mother's." The crone smiled, toothless yet knowing. "I, Lady Althea of Blackmoor, once the kingdom's most gifted healer, and later, the witch they burned." Lyria's chest constricted. "They said she consorted with wolves. They said many things, but truth burns slower than lies." The crone set down her lantern, its blue flame trembling. "Your mother sought to heal the king's son from a wasting sickness. She begged the moon goddess for strength. But the price of moon magic is blood that remembers. You, child, were that price." Lyria stared at the ashes on the hearthstone, as if her mother's shadow still lingered there. "So the curse was never hers, it was mine." "Part hers," the old woman corrected. "Part the goddess's vengeance. Each generation that bears your bloodline must live as both the hunted and the hunter, beauty bound to beast until the line redeems what was broken." Outside, thunder muttered across the valley. Lyria turned toward the window, watching lightning flicker through the trees. "Then tell me how to end it." The crone's expression hardened. "To end it, you must face the moon not as prey, but as mirror. And that means finding the one who still calls your name with love." Lyria's breath caught. "Idrin." The crone nodded slowly. "The knight who hunts you does not know he carries half the spell. His blood is bound to yours. It was his ancestor who swore to the goddess that your line would never again touch the throne. Break that oath, and either you or he must die beneath the full moon's eye." Lyria's gaze fell to her hands. "If I kill him, I end the curse." "Perhaps." The old woman's voice trembled. "But love may be a stronger end than death. Only one truth will break it. The moon will choose which." Hours passed. Rain began to fall, soft and steady, washing blood and dirt from her skin. The last traces of fur melted away, leaving a woman with eyes too bright for daylight. When dawn finally crawled over the treetops, the forest fell silent, as though the night itself held its breath. Lyria rose, weak but resolute. "He will come for me again tonight." "Yes," the crone said. "And when he does, remember, wolves kill to survive, but lovers kill to be free." Lyria left the cottage before she could think better of it. The old woman watched her vanish into the mist, whispering an old incantation. "Moon above, see her not as monster, but as memory undone." By midday, the hunt resumed. Riders scoured the valley, their armor gleaming dully beneath a gray sky. At their head rode Ser Idrin Vale, jaw clenched, eyes hollow from sleeplessness. In his gauntlet he carried a silver locket. Inside, a miniature portrait of a woman with raven black hair and eyes that seemed to laugh even in stillness. Lyria's portrait. A squire rode beside him. "My lord, the villagers swear they saw her cross the river. Should we burn the forest?" "No," Idrin said sharply. "She'll come to us." He remembered the way she had looked at him on the cliff, rage and sorrow entwined. He remembered the nights long ago when she had sung under the same moon, her voice carrying like prayer through the courtyard. She was no witch then, no monster, just Lyria, the woman he was forbidden to love. But now her curse had made her immortal, and him, the only man fated to end her. As dusk fell, Idrin's party reached the ruins of the chapel across the river. He dismounted, staring at the shattered altar within. A wolf's track marred the dust, yet the paw print was oddly human, narrower, delicate. He traced it with his glove, heart tightening. "Perhaps she never left," he murmured. The others set camp, building fires that hissed in the growing wind. Idrin wandered alone toward the far archway, where ivy climbed the stones like veins of shadow. The moon rose behind the clouds, faint at first, then silver bright. A whisper moved through the trees. His name, carried on air that smelled faintly of lavender. He turned. There she stood, at the edge of the ruins. Human again, at least for now. Her hair hung wet and dark, her gown mended with thorns and silk. The fading moonlight traced the ghost of fur along her neck. "Idrin," she said softly, "you should have let them kill me." "I couldn't." "Because you loved me?" "Because I still do." The silence that followed was deep enough to drown the world. Then, quietly, she stepped closer. "Then listen to me," she whispered. "Tonight, the curse will ask for one life. Yours or mine. If it takes me, you must burn my body under the same moon that damned me. If it takes you." She faltered. He reached out, brushing her cheek. "If it takes me, I'll haunt you kindly." Her lips trembled into something that was almost a smile. "You always said that." From the camp below came a horn blast. The hunters had seen her. In an instant, she was gone, vanishing into the forest with the swiftness of wind. Idrin drew his sword and followed, though he knew not whether he meant to kill her or save her. Above them, the moon rose full and white, hungry for truth. The forest was alive with whispers, not of wind, but of memory. Each branch seemed to lean inward as though to witness what the night would claim. Idrin pushed through the underbrush, sword in hand, the echo of the horn fading behind him. He could still feel her nearness, like a heartbeat that wasn't his. Somewhere ahead, a wolf howled. It wasn't a beast's call, not truly. It carried shape, intent, sorrow. And within it, his name. Lyria. He reached a clearing bathed in cold moonlight. There, beneath a dead oak, the grass was pressed flat in a circle, the ground scorched faintly with runes glowing blue. The air shimmered, thick with old power. In the center knelt Lyria, her back to him, hair lifting as if stirred by unseen hands. Blood dripped from her palm onto the soil. "Stop," he said, voice hoarse. She did not turn. "I must finish this," she whispered. "The curse awakens stronger with each blood moon. If I bind it again, no one else dies." Idrin stepped forward, blade lowering. "This is not binding. This is sacrifice." She rose slowly. As she turned to face him, her eyes glowed faintly, the moon reflected inside them like a trapped star. "I can't let it choose," she said. "Not you. Not me. It must end with my will." "The moon doesn't bargain," Idrin said. "She devours." Lyria smiled faintly, tragic and weary. "Then let her devour what remains of me." Before he could speak, light erupted around her, a circle of fire-white moonlight. It lifted leaves and dirt into a whirl, and for a heartbeat, Idrin saw the woman and the wolf superimposed, two souls fighting for the same breath. The runes on the ground bled brighter, then cracked like ice. He lunged forward, seizing her hand. "Then take me with you." The magic faltered. The wind died. The world went very, very still. Lyria stared at him in disbelief. "Idrin, you don't know what you're saying." "I do." He pulled off his gauntlet and pressed his bare hand against hers, mingling their blood on the ground. "If this curse is ours, then let it end with both our hearts." The moonlight flared. Every rune ignited. A voice, ancient, female, cruel, filled the clearing. Two hearts share one oath. One to remember, one to suffer. The curse shall break when love dies, or when love endures beyond death. Then silence. Lyria collapsed into his arms, trembling. Her skin was hot with fever, her veins glowing faintly silver beneath. "I told you," she whispered. "The moon has no mercy." He held her close. "Then let me be merciless too." They hid through the night in the ruins of an old watchtower overlooking the valley. Lyria lay wrapped in his cloak, the change creeping again under her skin, the fur returning, her breath sharpening into small growls she tried to suppress. Idrin lit no fire. The moon provided all the light they needed. "Do you remember," he said quietly, "the night before they took your mother?" Her eyes fluttered open. "She told me stories of wolves that guarded heaven's gate." "She told me something else," he said. "She said you'd always be loved, even if the world forgot how." Lyria smiled faintly. "That was before she cursed me to live it." He brushed hair from her face, his touch careful, reverent. "I don't believe she cursed you. I believe she tried to save you, and the goddess twisted her mercy into punishment." Outside, the storm had begun to fade. The first whisper of dawn touched the edges of the clouds. Lyria sat up slowly. Her voice was softer now, almost human again. "When the sun rises, I will be mortal for a few hours. If I stay with you, the hunters will find us. If I run, you'll chase me again." Idrin's jaw tightened. "Then let them find us. Let them see what I see." "You'd risk your order for me?" "For you. I already did." She looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, the beast inside her went quiet. The silence between them was fragile, but alive. Then a horn sounded in the distance. Once, twice, closer. Lyria closed her eyes. "They're coming." "Then run with me," he said. "Not from them, toward the truth." She hesitated, then nodded. Together they fled through the mist as the first gold of sunrise touched the treetops. Two figures, man and monster, bound by blood and by something far older than fear. By the time the hunters reached the watchtower, it was empty. Only two things remained on the cold stone floor: a smear of blood shaped like a crescent moon, and a single silver feather, warm to the touch though no bird had flown there in ages. The captain of the guard frowned. "She's gone again." One of the priests traced the rune in the dirt. "This symbol," he murmured. "It's not witchcraft. It's divine." "Divine?" the captain spat. "Then may the gods keep her, because I won't." He crushed the rune beneath his boot. Outside, thunder rumbled once more, though the sky was clear. Far away, in a hidden valley where sunlight rarely reached, Lyria and Idrin stopped at last beside an ancient pool. The surface reflected not their faces, but 1,000 moons rippling together. Beneath that silver mirror lay something that pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat in water. Lyria whispered, "This is where it began. The moon's first tear fell here, the birth of all curses." Idrin sheathed his sword. "Then this is where it ends." But as he looked into the water, he saw not his reflection, only hers. And behind her, something vast and luminous moving in the depths, waiting to be reborn. The night had not yet claimed them, but already it was watching. Mist drifted over the valley like breath from an unseen mouth. Idrin stood at the edge of the pool, the surface calm as glass, his reflection wavering beside Lyria's. The water seemed alive, silver veins running beneath it, pulsing to a rhythm older than time. "This is the moon's tear?" he asked. Lyria nodded slowly. "The first tear the goddess shed when she was betrayed by man. My mother said it fell here, and every curse born of her grief still drinks from it." She knelt, dipping her fingers into the water. Ripples spread outward, casting rings of light over her skin. Where they touched her, faint marks appeared, ancient runes that glowed through her flesh like fire beneath frost. Idrin reached toward her. "Stop. I must know," she whispered. "If the curse came from sorrow, then perhaps it can end with forgiveness." The air shifted, the forest held its breath. From beneath the surface, light coalesced into a shape, a woman's face, vast and luminous, carved from moonlight. Her eyes were twin eclipses, her voice the hush between waves. "Child of my weeping, why do you disturb my rest?" Lyria bowed her head. "To end the pain you gave me. I gave you nothing that was not asked. Your mother prayed for my power and offered your blood in promise. You are the echo of her wish." Tears slipped down Lyria's cheeks. "Then take back what is yours. Leave me nothing." The goddess's reflection smiled, a curve of light sharp as a blade. "You ask for death, yet your heart still clings to love. The curse is not chains upon you. It is the reflection of what you desire most." Idrin stepped forward, anger flaring. "She desires peace. You made her a monster." The water trembled. "Peace," the goddess echoed. "Mortals name peace what they cannot control. I gave her truth, both the beast that kills and the woman that grieves. Together they are balance. Without them, the world would forget mercy." Lightning split the sky. Thunder rolled through the valley. Lyria rose, her body trembling as the moon's light poured into her. Fur rippled over her arms, her eyes burning gold. "Idrin," she gasped, "she's inside me." He caught her shoulders. "Fight it." "I can't." The goddess's voice filled the air again, softer now, almost sorrowful. "When the tear is whole again, the curse will break. But a soul cannot be mended without sacrifice. One heart must dissolve into the other." Idrin looked down at her, realization dawning. "She means one of us." Lyria shook her head violently. "No, I won't choose." But the choice was already moving through the light. The pool's reflection began to twist. The moon itself bent lower, as if reaching for them. Idrin felt his heartbeat sync with hers, two rhythms merging. The world flickered between wolf and woman, man and moonlight. "Idrin," she whispered, "if I change completely, I won't remember you. Then remember this." He pressed his forehead to hers, closing his eyes. "You're not a curse. You're the truth they feared." The goddess's face dissolved into silver rain. The pool erupted upward, swallowing both of them in light. When Idrin awoke, the forest was silent. The pool was gone. In its place lay a crater of dry stone, its surface scorched in the pattern of a crescent. The air smelled of ash and roses. "Lyria," he called. No answer. Only the echo of a wolf's howl, distant but familiar, rolling through the mountains like a broken song. He staggered to his feet. Where the pool had been, something gleamed, a shard of crystal no larger than a fingernail. Inside it flickered a sliver of light, beating softly like a heart. He closed his hand around it. The pulse steadied. "Then you live," he whispered. That night, far beyond the valley, a small village huddled beneath the rising moon. The shepherds whispered of a silver wolf wandering the cliffs, taller than any beast, her eyes full of sorrow, her steps leaving flowers in their wake. Some said she was a spirit guarding the mountain. Others said she hunted men who lied. Idrin knew better. He followed the trail for days, through ravines and abandoned chapels, across rivers swollen with meltwater. Always the same sign, pawprints that turned to human footprints at dawn. Each night the moon waxed brighter, and each night he felt the shard in his pocket throb like a heartbeat calling him onward. On the seventh night, he found her. She stood upon a ridge overlooking the sea, the moon behind her like a crown. Her body shimmered between forms, woman and wolf, neither whole, both divine. When she turned, her eyes met his, and recognition flickered. "Idrin," he smiled through exhaustion. "You remember." For now. Her voice was layered, two tones at once. "The goddess sleeps inside me. Her dream feeds on what we feel. Then let her starve," he said gently, stepping closer. But she stepped back, fear crossing her face. "If I stay near you, she will awaken. She wants to finish what the curse began, to fuse us until nothing remains but her." Idrin reached for her hand anyway. Then we face her together. The wind rose, carrying salt and moonlight. The waves below crashed like distant drums. Above them, the full moon burned larger than ever, so close it painted the cliffs in white fire. And from its light, a figure began to descend, woven from cloud and radiance. The goddess was returning. Lyria's breath hitched. "She's come to claim what's left of me." Idrin drew his sword, though the gesture was futile. "Then she'll have to claim me too." The moonlight struck them both, blinding and beautiful. For a moment, all sound vanished, and the world held its breath again, waiting to see which heart would surrender first. The path to Valtoria was steep, winding through a valley drenched in fog and sorrow. Legends said no traveler ever returned from the Witch's Hollow. But Lucian, guided by guilt and an ember of love, pressed on. The mist clung to his armor, whispering faint words that resembled her name, Elara. Elara. By the time he reached the ruins, daylight had surrendered to the gray shroud of twilight. Black crows lined the twisted trees, their eyes glinting with intelligence beyond the natural. A narrow trail led him to a stone archway marked with clawed runes, symbols of protection or imprisonment. Inside the hollow, candles floated midair. The air shimmered with enchantment. The witch waited, seated by a circular pool of black water, her face hidden by a hood. She didn't look up when he entered. "I've been expecting you," she said. Her voice was soft, ancient. "The hunter who loves his curse." Lucian froze. "I don't love it. I came to break it." She finally turned. Her eyes were golden, like Alara's had once been. "No curse can be broken without a price," the witch said, "and yours is tangled with hers." He stepped closer. "Tell me what she is." "She is the child of both moon and flesh," said the witch. "Born of sorrow and blood. The last of the lycanthro line, cursed to walk as neither woman nor beast. The villagers called her abomination, but she is balance incarnate. Day grants her beauty, night claims her with truth." Lucian clenched his fists. "There must be a way to end her suffering." "There is," whispered the witch. "But if you save her, you doom yourself. If you kill her, you save the world." Her words hit like a blade. He looked at the black pool and saw visions ripple across its surface. A woman wrapped in moonlight, her body shifting between fur and skin, her face half serene, half feral. He saw her clutching her chest in agony as moonlight devoured her. The curse was not only of flesh, it was a battle for her soul. "Where did it begin?" Lucian asked. The witch raised her hand, and the mist thickened. "In the burning village of Valtoria, 20 years ago," she said. "A child was born under a blood eclipse. Neither male nor female, neither beast nor mortal. Her mother was accused of lying with the wolf gods. They burned her alive. But the child survived, saved by the moon." Lucian's heart tightened. "Elara. She was given that name by me," said the witch. "I raised her until the first transformation. Then she fled, ashamed of her own reflection. You met her years later, in the woods you were sworn to guard, and you loved her before you knew what she was." He remembered it, the laughter by the river, the soft hum of her voice, the way she avoided mirrors. He'd thought it shyness. Now he knew it was horror. "I can end this," he said quietly. "Just tell me how." The witch stood and circled him, her robes brushing against the floor like whispers of silk. "You must meet her at the altar of the first eclipse," she said. "There, the moon will demand its final offering. The curse will seek balance, and it will choose between you." Lucian frowned. "Between me and her?" "Yes," said the witch. "One must take the curse, the other will be freed. The moon hungers for symmetry." He turned toward the door. "Then I will take it." But the witch's voice cut through the air. "Be warned, hunter, love cannot outshine destiny. The moon does not forgive." As he left, the candles dimmed. Outside, the mist parted slightly, revealing the distant outline of the forest. The moon rose like an open wound, bleeding silver light over the land. He mounted his horse and rode through the valley, his thoughts filled with her, the sound of her heartbeat, her eyes in the half-darkness, the moment she had fled into the night. He realized something cruel. He had been hunting her not because he hated her, but because he feared losing her to the curse forever. The forest welcomed him back like an old enemy. The howls began again, not far now. He dismounted, holding the silver dagger the witch had given him. It gleamed faintly, etched with lunar sigils. From the shadows, something moved. A silhouette, tall, graceful, monstrous. The wolf woman stepped into view, her eyes shimmering gold through the mist. Her torn garments clung to her, half revealing furred limbs and half bare skin, a haunting blend of beauty and horror. "Alara," he whispered. Her voice was layered, part growl, part melody. "You shouldn't have come. I found a way," he said. "We can end this." She tilted her head, moonlight rippling across her furred cheek. "End it, or end me." He hesitated. "You know I'd never hurt you." She took a step forward, claws glinting. "Then you're a fool. The curse doesn't love you, Lucian. It feeds on what you feel." Her words trembled, but her eyes betrayed fear. Deep down, she still remembered him, the warmth of his touch, the promise of sunlight. But the moon was stronger now. Her body convulsed, and she gasped, fur spreading across her shoulders. "Go before it takes me completely." He dropped the dagger. "Not without you." And as the clouds parted, the full moon broke free, blinding silver, unstoppable. Her scream echoed through the forest, a sound between woman and beast. Lucian held her trembling form, even as her claws tore through his armor. The curse would not wait any longer. The forest trembled as though alive, every root and branch pulsing with dread. The blood moon climbed higher, turning the world crimson. In its light, Lucian held Alara in his arms, or what remained of her humanity. Her breath came in sharp gasps, and her body shivered between forms, fur retreating, then surging back like waves. Her eyes flickered gold, then hazel, then gold again. "The altar," she whispered. "It's calling." Lucian looked up through the trees. Far beyond the fog, on the cliff of Velmora, the silhouette of the moon altar stood, an ancient circle of stones older than the kingdom itself. He could almost feel it tugging at them both. The witch had said the curse demanded balance. Now the moon demanded blood. He lifted her, carrying her through the mist. Every step toward the altar seemed heavier, as if unseen hands were trying to hold them back. Wolves howled from distant ridges, but their cries were different tonight, reverent, mournful, as if mourning their queen. At last, they reached the cliff. The altar was carved from obsidian and etched with glowing runes. In the center, a basin of moon water shimmered like liquid glass. The wind howled through the stones, forming words neither mortal nor beast could understand. The moon was now directly overhead, full, enormous, and bleeding pale fire. Alara struggled from his grasp, dropping to her knees. "Lucian, no further. If you love me, you'll run." "I won't," he said, his voice steady. "If the curse must choose, it will choose me." She lifted her head, her face twisted in anguish. "You don't understand. It already has." The air thickened. The moonlight descended in a single column, enveloping her body. Her scream tore through the night. Lucian lunged forward and stopped. Her shape was changing again, but not into a wolf this time. The transformation was slower, deliberate. Her bones glowed beneath her skin. Her hair streamed upward like smoke. The moon carved symbols across her body, circles, lines, runes of ancient blood. "Alara," he shouted. "Fight it." She raised her eyes to him. They burned silver now, not gold. "I am fighting," she gasped. "But it's older than me, older than love." He remembered what the witch said. One must take the curse, the other will be freed. He drew the silver dagger from his belt. Its blade reflected her twisted reflection, half woman, half wolf, eyes full of sorrow. He took a step closer. I swore to protect you, he whispered, even from yourself. But before he could move, her claws slashed the air and the dagger flew from his hand. She rose from the ground, the runes on her skin flaring brighter than lightning. The moon demands a vow, she said, though her voice was layered, as if many souls spoke through her. Swear it, Lucien. Swear your heart to me under the eclipse. He looked up. The moon and sun were crossing paths now, the sky dimming into a haunting twilight. And if I do, he asked. Then we are one, she said. But you will never be free. Lucien hesitated. The world dimmed. Shadows swallowed the trees. He thought of her laughter, of the nights she hid from the moon, of the way her hand had once brushed his face with trembling tenderness. Then I swear, he said, on my blood, on my soul. The altar exploded in light. The basin boiled, glowing with molten silver. The runes around the stones flared like stars. Alara screamed again, clutching her chest. Lucien felt his own heart seize, his blood pulling toward her as though gravity itself had reversed. The witch's voice echoed faintly in his mind. The curse will choose balance. Silver tendrils burst from the altar, wrapping around them both. He felt his veins freeze, his vision dimmed. Alara's fur receded, her human skin returning, but her eyes stayed bright, too bright. She looked at him with terror. No, it's taking you. He smiled weakly. Maybe that's what balance means. Then everything went silent. The eclipse reached totality. The world blackened. The air turned to ice. The moon vanished. Only the silver glow of the altar remained. When the light faded, she was kneeling beside him. The fur was gone. Her skin was pale, smooth, human. But Lucien lay still, his eyes empty of light. His body shimmered faintly, not decaying, not alive. The dagger lay beside him, the blade now blackened. Alara touched his face. Tears rolled down her cheeks. You fool, she whispered. You gave it what it wanted. The wind shifted. She turned and froze. Her shadow had changed. It was not hers anymore. The wolf's shape stood tall behind her, towering, protective, watchful. It moved when she didn't. A chill crept through her veins. No, she said softly. You didn't free me. Lucien, you became me. The wolf's eyes glowed with his familiar hazel hue. And for a moment, just a heartbeat, she smiled through her tears. Then we're still together. The first rays of dawn began to rise. The curse was silent. For the first time in years, no pain, no hunger. Only emptiness, and the faint sound of his voice in her head, whispering through the new morning wind. But in the far distance, deep within the forest, another howl rose. A strange, doubled sound, part man, part woman, echoing from both heart and shadow. The curse, it seemed, had found its symmetry. The sun rose, but the light felt wrong. It was pale and brittle, like glass ready to shatter. The forest, once roaring with life and echoing howls, now lay still as a painted thing. Every leaf hung frozen. The crows sat on branches like carved ornaments, watching without blinking. And in the center of that suffocating silence, Alara woke. Her body ached as if she had been torn apart and stitched back by unseen hands. She lifted her trembling fingers to her face. No fur, no claws. Her skin was smooth again, though faint silver lines, like veins of moonlight, glowed beneath the surface. Her heartbeat sounded different, echoing, doubled, as if someone else's pulse lived within her. Lucien, she whispered. Her voice carried strangely, repeating itself from nowhere. Lucian, Lucian. The forest spoke her word back, but it didn't sound like an echo. It sounded like breathing. She turned toward where he had fallen. His body was gone. The altar still stood, its stones now blackened, the runes scorched into the ground. The pool of moon water had vanished, replaced by dry dust and small silver fragments scattered like broken glass. Only his cloak remained, folded neatly beside the pedestal. When she touched it, the fabric was still warm. "Alara," said a voice. She froze. The sound came from within her, soft, distant, and achingly familiar. "Lucian," she gasped, spinning around. No one stood there. The voice was not in the air. It was inside her. "Don't be afraid," it whispered. "I'm here." Her knees buckled. No, this isn't real. "I told you." The voice said, sorrow laced through its calm tone. The curse needed balance. It didn't end. It just changed form. Alara staggered away from the altar, clutching her chest. Every beat of her heart sent shivers of cold through her veins. Shadows moved where sunlight should have been. The trees no longer cast proper silhouettes. Their outlines twisted, merging into shapes that resembled wolves crawling upward into the light. The forest of Velmora was dying, or perhaps awakening. She stumbled through the brush, her breath ragged. Birds no longer sang. Only the wind spoke, and it carried whispers of her name, murmured by unseen mouths. The scent of iron hung thick in the air. When she looked down, her footprints shimmered faintly silver, vanishing seconds after she moved. She was fading piece by piece. "Alara," Lucian's voice came again, firmer now. "You can't run from it." "From what?" she cried. "From you? From this curse." "You're not cursed anymore," he said. "You're chosen." She laughed, a hollow, broken sound. "Chosen by what? The moon? The wolves? The gods who never answered?" The forest stirred. A figure emerged from the mist ahead, cloaked, tall, and silent. For a heartbeat, she thought it was him. But when it stepped closer, the hood fell back, and she saw not a man, but a thing of bone and ash. The witch. Her eyes burned white now, no longer golden. Her voice trembled with ancient fatigue. "It has begun," the witch said. The eclipse tore the veil. "The curse isn't yours alone anymore." Alara staggered back. "What do you mean?" "You and you are one now. The balance has found its vessel. But it cannot stay in one world." The witch raised her hand. All around, the forest bent like it was bowing to an invisible storm. The soil cracked open, revealing bones beneath, wolf skulls, human ribs, all intertwined in roots and stone. "Every cursed soul ever bound to the moon now sleeps within you," said the witch. "The night will rise again, through your breath, through your blood." Alara clutched her head. "No, I won't let it." The witch's face softened. "It isn't a choice. The moon doesn't grant mercy, it only remembers." Alara fell to her knees. Her shadow on the ground began to ripple. Two shapes emerged from it, a woman and a wolf, circling her like mirror reflections. The wolf turned its head and looked directly at her, eyes glowing hazel. "Lucian." She reached out instinctively, tears burning her eyes. "Lucian, don't." Before she could finish, the wolf opened its mouth and spoke with his voice. "I'm still here, Alara, but I can't hold them back much longer." The ground trembled. From the forest depths came a low rumbling, 1,000 howls rising in unison. The sky dimmed again, though the sun still hung above. Daylight twisted, silver streams crawling through the air like veins of liquid moonlight. The eclipse had passed, but its shadow remained. Alara rose slowly, her body trembling with new power. The silver beneath her skin pulsed like fire. Her reflection in the blackened altar was no longer human. Her eyes glowed faintly, and faint fur traced her jaw and neck. The witch's voice quivered. The curse has evolved. The night won't come in hours anymore. It will come through you whenever it pleases. Alara looked up at the sky, then back to the witch. Then teach me to control it. The witch hesitated. Control? No. Endure, perhaps. But control. She shook her head. That would mean becoming the curse itself. Alara closed her eyes. The whispers in her blood grew louder. Lucien's voice, and others, old, angry, mournful, the voices of every wolf that had ever fallen to silver blades. She felt them all waiting, coiled within her ribs, restless as the tide. When she opened her eyes again, the witch was gone, vanished into the mist. Only her cloak remained, fluttering on a branch like a banner of warning. The silence returned, thicker than before. Alara stood alone in the hollow forest, her shadow split in two, woman and wolf. She knew now that dawn was an illusion. The night never ended. It only changed its mask. And from far away, over the black hills, a voice whispered through the wind, not Lucien's this time, but something older. The moon remembers its children. The first scream came from the village of Dareth, 2 nights after the hollow dawn. A shepherd swore he saw the moon rise twice, once in the sky, and once in the river, red as blood. The next morning his flock was gone, and the grass where they'd grazed was blackened, pressed flat by enormous paw prints that bled silver when touched. By the time rumor reached the fortress, the forests of Velmora had already turned against themselves. Trees wept resin that glowed in the dark. Wolves were born with human eyes, and through every midnight wind came a single, long, shattering note. The howl returned. Alara felt it before she heard it. The sound moved through her rather than around her, vibrating in her bones like a heartbeat that wasn't hers. She stood at the edge of the forest, wrapped in Lucien's cloak, watching smoke drift from the distant villages. The voices in her blood murmured faster now, some pleading, some laughing, some whispering her name like a prayer. They think you freed them, Lucien's voice said inside her. Didn't I? She whispered. You opened the gate, Alara. Now they no longer sleep in the dark, they sleep in you. Her hands trembled. Every time the moonlight touched her skin, the veins beneath it shimmered brighter. Sometimes she could see shapes moving inside the glow, silhouettes of wolves running, pacing, waiting. She pressed her palms to the earth, and for a moment the ground pulsed back, beating like a heart. Something vast was awakening below the roots. At the same time, in the fortified town of Briarhold, the bells rang for the first time in years. Hunters gathered beneath the chapel arch, scarred men with silvered spears, crossbows etched in runes, and talismans of bone. At their head stood Father Marek, the last priest who remembered the first curse. His beard was white, his eyes red-rimmed from sleepless nights. The moon witch walks again, he told them. The forest breathes her sin. If she crosses into daylight, the curse will spread to our children. We hunt at dusk. No one spoke. They all remembered the night the eclipse swallowed their sky. They all remembered the silence that followed. None dared to say her name aloud. Back in the forest, Alara reached the ruins of the witch's hollow. The candles were gone. The air was colder. The pool where the witch had scryed was now a crater filled with ash. Yet when she knelt beside it, ripples moved across the gray dust as if it were still water. Her reflection blinked, once, twice, and then smiled without her. She staggered back, heart hammering. The reflection whispered, "The moon remembers its children." Then it dissolved into smoke. "Alara," Lucien's voice again, faint, urgent. "They're coming for you." "I know," she said. "Maybe they should. You think death will stop this? You saw what happened to me. The moon doesn't kill, it inherits." She turned her eyes skyward. The sun was fading, its edges dissolving into a sickly silver haze. "Then I'll take it away from them," she said. "If I can't end the curse, I'll carry it far from the living." As dusk fell, the forest shifted. The fog thickened, heavy as wool. The air smelled of iron and pine sap. Shadows twisted into long, narrow paths that changed whenever she blinked. Somewhere ahead, a bell tolled, a hunter's signal. She could sense them now, moving through the trees, hearts beating like sparks in the dark. She stepped into a clearing bathed in ghost light. The moon had risen early, swollen and low, its surface rippling like water. The voices in her blood surged until she could hardly breathe. "They're hungry," Lucien whispered. "For what?" "For return." She fell to her knees as a wave of cold swept through her. Her hands struck the ground, and the soil moved. From beneath her palms, silver vines erupted, curling outward, glowing faintly in the dark. The vines pulsed once, then vanished, leaving behind faint circular marks that looked disturbingly like eyes. She looked toward the horizon. The hunters' torches flickered through the mist. The first of them reached her clearing, 3 men with silver nets and crossbows. Their faces were pale, their eyes wide, not with courage, but with awe. She stood at the center, the moon behind her head like a halo of cold fire. Her hair drifted weightless, every strand tipped in silver light. "Stay back," she said softly. But the words came out in 2 voices, hers and Lucien's, layered together. The men faltered. One dropped his weapon. Another whispered a prayer. The forest answered with a long, resonant howl that came from everywhere at once, sky, earth, and marrow. The men clutched their heads, screaming. The torches went out. When the sound ended, nothing moved except Alara's breath. The hunters were gone. Only their weapons lay in the grass, rusted in seconds by the silver dew. Lucien's voice was quiet now. "You're losing the line between us." "Then hold it," she whispered. "I can't. Every howl that rises feeds through you. The curse is learning to speak again." A gust of wind swept through the clearing. The trees bent toward her, bark cracking, branches forming shapes like outstretched arms. She realized they weren't bowing, they were listening. The night deepened to the color of ink. Somewhere in the distance, 1,000 wolves cried out in unison, not of rage or hunger, but of reunion. The sound rolled across mountains, down into valleys, through every sleeping village. Windows shattered. Cattle broke their pens. Babies woke crying under the strange moonlight that poured through roofs like liquid silver. Alara stood perfectly still, eyes closed. The howls filled her lungs until she could barely stand. Her shadow split again, this time into dozens of moving forms. The curse had multiplied. When she opened her eyes, the moon looked closer than it ever had before, enormous and trembling, as if leaning down to watch its creation. In the fortress of Briarhold, Father Marek knelt before the altar, whispering prayers that turned to frost on his lips. He lifted his gaze to the stained glass window, and for a heartbeat, saw a face looking back, a woman's face, rimmed in silver light, eyes bright as stars. The glass cracked. A single thread of moonlight leaked through, tracing a sigil on the floor. It pulsed once, like a heartbeat, then twice, and the wolves began to howl again. The curse did not stay in the forest. It rode on the mist like a whispering plague, slithering through valleys and crossing frozen rivers. Each night, the moon rose larger, redder, until it seemed to drip across the clouds like spilled wine. Villages woke to find their livestock mutilated, their wells shimmering with a crimson reflection that should not have been there. The priests called it the end of ages. The soldiers called it Alera's vengeance. By the third night, the eastern kingdoms had already fallen to panic. Bells tolled without pattern. Wolves prowled the city walls at noon, unbothered by sunlight. Men who had hunted the cursed now heard howls inside their skulls. They struck at their own shadows and found the shadows striking back. Alera had not planned this. She wandered through it, barefoot, cloaked in ash, her eyes dull silver like frozen rain. She had become the still point in a storm that no longer obeyed her. Spirits moved where she stepped. The wind bent toward her as if to listen. When she spoke, the air trembled. "If you can hear me, Lucian," she whispered to the wind, "tell them to stop killing what they cannot understand." But the wind answered only with the sound of wings. Ravens, hundreds of them, flew westward, toward the citadel of Valdera. That was where the High Inquisitor had gathered his armies, 10,000 men sworn to end the curse by fire and faith. The blood moon rose behind their march, painting their armor in a ghostly sheen. It was no longer the gentle moon of lovers and dreamers. It was a burning sigil, alive, pulsing with the heartbeat of the curse itself. In the ruins of the Black Abbey, Alera waited. The old stones hummed under her feet, remembering the prayers once sung there. Around her stood those who had changed, farmers, mothers, hunters, all marked by the moon, but still human enough to fear what they had become. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dark, a constellation of the lost. "The world thinks us monsters," one of them said. Alera turned toward him. "Then let the world see how monsters weep." When the army reached the valley, dawn tried to break, but dawn had forgotten how. The blood moon refused to fade. The sky stayed the color of dying embers. Horns blew, echoing through the ravine. The first wave of soldiers advanced, shields gleaming, chanting the name of a god who no longer answered. Alera raised her hand, and the wind died. The silence that followed was so vast it felt holy. Then the wolves came, not from the forest, but from the shadows of the men themselves. Each soldier's shadow tore loose, sprouting teeth, becoming shape. The battlefield erupted in screams as men fought their own darkness. It was not victory Alera wanted, it was release. But the curse had its own will, older than hers, older than any prayer. She could feel Lucian inside it, no longer human, no longer her beloved, but a consciousness diffused across every howl and flame. "You open the gate, Alera." His voice murmured through the roar of wind. "Now we are the gate." At that, the blood moon pulsed once, an enormous heartbeat that cracked the horizon. Every torch flickered out. For a moment the world went black, and in that darkness every creature, wolf, man, or spirit, felt themselves weightless, suspended in something vast and breathing. Then light returned, not from the sun, but from the burning moon itself. The valley glowed as if underwater. The soldiers dropped to their knees, unable to see where the earth ended and the sky began. Mountains shuddered. The bells of Valdera melted into silence. And in the center of it all, Elara stood, hair whipping like white fire, cloak torn to ribbons, eyes twin mirrors of the blood moon. The curse had made her both sovereign and prisoner. The wind circled her, whispering the names of those she could not save. When the light finally dimmed, the armies were gone. Only their armor remained, scattered like offerings. The cursed stood in silence, not triumphant, not free, only alive. Elara looked to the horizon. The moon still hung there, unblinking. "So this is what the gods meant by mercy," she said quietly. She walked toward the distant hills, her footsteps leaving faint silver prints in the ash. Behind her, the forest began to regrow, not green, but a muted gray that shimmered faintly in the light of the endless moon. The world had entered its next age. Some would call it the Age of Wolves, others, the Age of Shadows. But none would ever know the full truth, that it was born not of hatred or vengeance, but of a single curse whispered in love and despair. The valley still smoked when the wind returned. Ash rose in slow spirals, drifting toward a moon that refused to die. No dawn broke. There was only the red glow that hung over mountains like a wound that would not close. Where 10,000 men had once stood, only armor and echoes remained. The curse had taken sound itself, leaving behind a silence heavy enough to crush prayer. Elara walked among the ruins barefoot. The stones were hot beneath her feet, yet she did not burn. The blood of wolves ran cold in her veins now, half spirit, half echo. She could feel Lucian's still, diffused through the mist, a voice that was no longer singular but everywhere. "It's over," she whispered. "Or has it only begun?" the wind replied. Beyond the valley, the world had begun to shift. Rivers turned north instead of south. Forests bloomed overnight and withered by dusk. The moon pulled harder on the tides, as though the sea itself bowed to her. And somewhere, far beyond mortal sight, the gods watched from their shattered constellations, unable to decide whether they had birthed salvation or blasphemy. Word spread through the broken kingdoms. Peasants spoke of a silver witch who ruled the night but spared the meek. Soldiers told tales of a moon queen who walked among wolves and judged the living by their dreams. Priests wrote new verses to explain away what their scriptures could not contain. In the citadel of Valdera, rebuilt upon its own ruins, a child was born beneath the same blood-red moon. The midwives swore they heard a distant howl at the moment she first cried. On her palm was a mark shaped like a crescent claw. Generations passed, but the mark returned. Every few decades, someone bore it, and with it came the whispering wind, the strange call of the forest, and the unblinking red eye in the sky. The kingdoms tried to forget, but memory has roots deeper than stone. High on the cliffs above the valley, a monastery rose where the Black Abbey once stood. The monks who tended it did not pray, they listened. Each night they recorded the murmurs that drifted through the air, snatches of names, fragments of lost languages, the sound of a heartbeat large enough to be the world's. They called it the last howl, and swore that when it sounded thrice in one night, the Moon Queen would walk again. Elara, meanwhile, had gone where no path led. She wandered the edge of the northern ice, where auroras bled across the sky and the stars seemed close enough to touch. The fur that had once covered her was gone, yet her reflection still flickered with silver light. She was no longer curse nor woman, but something in between, a balance the earth had never known. Sometimes she would kneel by frozen water and see Lucian's face beneath the ice, smiling as if death had been a small price for eternity. Other times she would hear the howl, not from her throat, but from the world itself, carried by mountains and oceans. "Do you hear it too?" she would ask the void. Always, the void would answer. Centuries turned like pages. The kingdoms fractured, rebuilt, and named themselves after the stars. Yet the red moon kept its vigil, dimming and brightening with unseen rhythm. Scholars called it a celestial phenomenon. Poets called it a heartbeat. The old ones knew better. They lit fires at crossroads and left bowls of milk for the unseen traveler who kept the wolves from their doors. And one night, long after all who had witnessed the blood moon rain were dust, the monks of the northern monastery heard the howl thrice. The sound rolled across the world like thunder made of sorrow and memory. It cracked the ice, stirred the seas, and woke the forests. Birds fell silent. The moon swelled until it filled half the sky. On that night, a storm walked out of the north. Cloaked in silver mist, it crossed deserts, rivers, and ruins. Where it passed, wolves rose from long-dead bones, their eyes burning with ancient light. At its center moved a figure neither ghost nor goddess, her footsteps leaving no prints. Some said her eyes held the reflection of every moon that had ever been. Others said she carried a sword made of light, forged from the first scream of creation. She came to the valley where it had all begun. Nothing remained but a single tree grown from the bones of the old world. She touched its trunk, and it bloomed with white fire. "The world remembers," she said. "Then let it remember rightly." She turned her gaze to the sky. The moon pulsed once, an immense heartbeat echoing across continents, and then dimmed to silver. For the first time in 1,000 years, true night returned, black, deep, filled with stars. When the light came again, the figure was gone. Only the echo of her howl lingered, neither mournful nor triumphant, but eternal. That sound spread through the air, down to every sleeping soul, into every cradle and crypt, until even the gods looked down and shivered. They knew what mortals had forgotten, that curses are never broken, they are inherited. And far away, in a nameless village beneath the newborn stars, a child woke crying under a silver moon. Her eyes gleamed faintly red,